we should be helping immunosuppressed people, and I think we should be using the monoclonal antibodies much more broadly. It's a tragic mistake of this crisis that we haven't used those drugs more aggressively. But variants are going to emerge. So far, the vaccines have demonstrated efficacy, significant efficacy, against a whole range of variants. I mean, think of all the variants that have emerged, and the vaccine still demonstrated efficacy. There's no reason to believe that we're going to lose them against this one. But eventually, we're going to have to migrate these vaccines, in my view, and that's one of the reasons why I think that, at least for the foreseeable future, while prevalence is still high, this is likely to become an annual vaccine for a lot of the public. But the drugs should be used more aggressively.
Becky went in, but I just want to follow up. Why would Bonsell say that this is really going to be bad and these things aren't going to work? Why would he go out and say that then if there's no reason to think that? I'm hopeful that the vaccines work too, but why would he go off? That's not a term I can use anymore. Why would he go out of the mainstream and say that if he didn't know that? Or is he just talking to people, talking out of, sort of not really in a position to talk that way?
Well, look, I don't know what data he's looking at. I'm sure he's looking at some data that's giving him that indication. The people I talk to, and you noted at the top, I'm on the board of Pfizer, feel reasonably confident. I mean, there's no guarantee of anything, but feel reasonably confident that this vaccine is going to provide a meaningful amount of efficacy against this variant. And they're basing that on modeling and simulation and also their own expertise, that the third dose in particular, after you get the booster, you get a very broad antibody response. We said that at the time that data was first announced. You develop what we call a polyclonal effect. And so there's a lot of antibodies that maybe aren't going to be so good at neutralizing this new variant, but there's a lot of antibodies that still seem to be preserved. And based on that, and prior experience with reductions in the efficacy of vaccines, observing the vaccine against other variants, there's a high degree of confidence that efficacy is going to be preserved here. Will it be the same 95%? Perhaps not, but you'll still have a meaningful amount of efficacy. We're not going to lose the vaccines.
Yeah, Scott, Israel had some data that they're looking at that suggests the same. It's very early data, and I'm not sure where they're getting it, but it's suggesting the same thing. I just want to follow up very quickly on how you said we should be using these monoclonal antibodies more broadly and prophylactically for immunocompromised people. We asked Len about that yesterday. He said they've had their application to do just that before the FDA for 6 months and haven't heard back. With your understanding of the FDA, what do you think's happened there? Why hasn't it been approved?
Yeah, I'm not sure, quite frankly, because a lot of the people who are vulnerable and immunocompromised have basically become prisoners in their home. They recognize their vulnerability, and they're scared to go outside their homes. And this drug could be providing a measure of protection and confidence to allow many individuals to live a more normal life. There's about 3 million people in this country who are immunocompromised. All could be eligible to receive these drugs. There's certainly a cohort within that where I think it could be very important. If you're on active treatment for cancer, getting a monthly infusion of this drug could make eminent sense. I suspect the FDA is going to act on this application. I think it makes a lot of sense to have these drugs available prophylactically. They are being made available prophylactically. Regeneron is making them available under a compassionate use program, so a lot of patients are getting it. But, giving an EUA for that and that indication for this narrow use, I think, makes eminent clinical sense.
Hey, Doctor, I was just curious on a very practical basis, since we've now heard about this variant, whether you are changing any of your own behavior or advising others to do so either in the workplace or otherwise. I know you're triple vaxxed, boosted. I am too. I've been spending a lot of time now with other people who are vaccinated indoors and the like, and whether that should change. And also, I know there's going to be a lot of people making travel plans around Christmas and beyond. There's a whole conference series and set. We were talking about Davos and other things. What are you telling people they should be doing?
Yeah, look, I'm not changing anything. It's a foregone conclusion that this is here. I mean, looking at how this is in various other countries, I think it's inevitable that we're going to find a case here in the United States. That doesn't mean that it's spreading at any appreciable level. And I'm not convinced yet that this new variant is more contagious, more virulent, and is spreading more aggressively than Delta, or that it's going to outcompete Delta based on the very limited epi data that we're getting out of South Africa at this point. So I don't know that this is going to race around a major city if we do find an individual case or a cluster of cases. In terms of international travel, my concern around traveling internationally wouldn't be coming into contact with this new variant and being infected by it based on what I know now. I'm not more fearful of this variant than I am of any COVID variant. My concern would be getting stuck outside the country. Either you get COVID while you're traveling, unfortunately, even a mild case or an asymptomatic case, and you can't get back inside the U.S., or you get stuck in some kind of quarantine situation. So I'd be very mindful that if you're going to leave the country, have a plan B. Be prepared to stay there or get in touch with medical personnel if, in fact, you do get stuck.
It's so cold in Davos. Hey, so, all right, last don't tell me that.